Hay que hacer en caliente la película.
We need to make straight away the serial film of the kidnapping, the torture, and the liberation of the 252 Venezuelans who were in Nayib Bukele's concentration camp. I think it would be a great success. Do you know where it would be a great success? In the United States. A film like that would be a great success in El Salvador.
That was Nicolas Maduro, president of Venezuela, pitching a film. Now, personally, I think it's probably got too many characters because it's going to be very expensive to get 252 top actors together to make this. But obviously, I'm not in a position to challenge his confidence that it would be a box office hit.
Definitely needs a much catchy title because the kidnapping, torture, and the liberation of 252 Venezuelans who were in Nayib Bukele's concentration camp is a little clunky.
Yeah, it doesn't really work, does it? But there's actually a serious point here. Maduro's angry at Donald Trump for bombing Venezuelan boats. But he's also taking aim at some smaller targets rather nearer to home.
And that's what we're going to be discussing today on World Reframed. I'm Ismail Okwe in Accra and Duncan Hooper is in London. At the heart of this story is a warning issued September 14 by Venezuela's defense minister, Vladimir Padrino Lopez. He said that if aggression is launched from the territory of Trinidad and Tobago, then those countries will face a response from Venezuela in legitimate self-defense. How did we get here, Duncan?
Well, as we were saying earlier, like so many stories in the world today, this goes back to Donald Trump.
Well, actually, a bit before Donald Trump.
Yeah, you're right. To be fair, it goes back actually quite a long way before Donald Trump. Relations between Venezuela and the US have been, I think, to put it mildly, difficult for a number of decades. Fundamentally because Venezuela's governments have tended to be led by socialist strongmen. And that generally isn't a great combination with American political elites. And President Maduro, who we heard at the top of the show, he's not even recognized by the US following an election in 2018, which was disputed, and the US maintained that the opposition should have won that. This latest escalation, though, does go back to Donald Trump, and it's his decision to clamp down on what he says is state-sanctioned drug smuggling. He believes there's an industry in Venezuela which the government is supporting and certainly doing nothing to clamp down on, and he believes that's causing hundreds of thousands of deaths in America. And at the beginning of the month, he ordered an airstrike on a boat which was sailing from Venezuela. Then, several days later, he did it again, and he's claimed there's been a third strike since.
And this prompted an outcry internationally because this kind of extrajudicial killing is normally reserved for only the gravest terrorist threats. So, of course, there was pressure on the Venezuelans to respond. And we've had some fiery language from Maduro.
Si la vida nos pone.
If life puts us on the path of having to take up arms to begin an armed struggle against imperialist aggression, our people will do it with serenity, with certainty, and also with joy.
But ultimately, for all the bluster, the last thing Venezuela, and to be fair, pretty much any country in the world wants, is a war with America. But what if there was another country nearby that Maduro could try to bully? And here comes in the island nation of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yep. Trinidad and Tobago, the two islands together, they publicly supported US action against organized crime. They are on that drug route, which Donald Trump has highlighted, and they're worried about drug trafficking, they're worried about human trafficking, they're worried about firearms coming through their region, and they believe the cooperation with the US is necessary to respond to these, what they see as security challenges. So the Prime Minister, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, has denied any plans that she wants to allow the US to launch an invasion from Trinidadian soil, but she has expressed support for the policies. And this is a fight, I think, that Venezuela believes it can pick.
Well, in fact, Trinidad and Tobago is a nation consisting of two islands covering a total of about 5,130 square kilometers. That compares with Venezuela's 916,445 square kilometers and roughly 29 million people. There's a disparity in the armed forces too. Venezuela's army has around 123,000 active soldiers, while Trinidad and Tobago has about 4,100.
Although probably a few American troops and some technology could probably even that up pretty swiftly.
Yes, and this broken relationship is a good idea of how ties can switch in the Americas. With just 11 kilometers separating them, Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela have traditionally enjoyed a close relationship. After all, both were Spanish colonies, with the islands governed from Caracas until Madrid ceded the islands to the British in 1802. Both countries are members of the Caribbean Community Organization, CARICOM.
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump, though, he's divisive. I mean, if we did a bingo game, Ishmael, we could probably, collect every time we mentioned that Donald Trump causes division. But in the polarized politics of the American continent, that's particularly impactful. And he has the potential to exacerbate some of those divides, which have really existed, as we've mentioned, for many decades already.
And what about his war on drugs? What's next on that?
Well, as you can imagine, he's been very impressed by what he's done so far.
A lot of drugs are coming out of Venezuela. A lot of Tren de Aragua they're trying to get out, but we're stopping them successfully at the border in Venezuela. We have a tremendous amount of security. They send a Tren de Aragua, that's the gang, probably the worst gang in the world, MS-13M. I think they're probably considered worse. And we don't like what Venezuela is sending us, whether it's their drugs or whether it's their gang members. We don't like it. We don't like it one bit.
And rather than trying to draw a line under the instance, Trump has now issued warnings to Colombia, Bolivia, Burma, Afghanistan as well, that he believes they're also failing to stop drugs ending up at the US. Does this mean we're going to start seeing US airstrikes on boats or even targets inside those countries?
Well, as always with Trump, we just don't know. And under international law, it seems pretty clear that attacking suspected drug boats is illegal, even in international waters. The only exceptions would be if the vessel posed an imminent threat, which is hard to see. Could this be the case with a fishing boat, even if its hold was packed with cocaine and fentanyl? However, the U.S. has never been a strong advocate of any of the mechanisms set up to enforce international law, and in recent times, even less so.
Yeah, I seem to recall them imposing sanctions on members of the International Criminal Court when they put out warrants for the arrest of some Israeli politicians.
Well, absolutely. Not much recourse for any nation that does find its citizens targeted, which is perhaps why Maduro and his government have picked on its smaller neighbor. And it's not the only neighbor where relations are not so friendly. Guyana, on the northeast of the South American landmass, has an extremely tense relationship with Caracas for many decades, which has escalated since Maduro's government renewed claim to an oil-rich adjacent to the border. Trinidad's support for Guyana in that dispute laid the seeds for the recent uptick in violence.
Yeah, there's probably a whole other podcast we could do about Venezuela's relationship with Guyana. There's some brilliant tales of sort of fake flag exchanges being filmed. There was a dodgy referendum and, seizing fishing boats, both sides getting involved in that.
Well, if there's one moral to this story, is that the fishermen always seem to be the losers, is the little people getting caught once again in the global power play. Well, this has been World Reframed. Please subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We'll leave you with some more from Maduro. See you next week.
En conclusión, Estados Unidos de Norteamérica y el mundo
The United
entero,
States of America
América
and the
Latina y
whole
el Caribe,
world,
saben que
Latin
es una
America
operación
and the
militar
Caribbean
para
know that this is a
amedrentar
military
y
operation
para
to
buscar un
intimidate
cambio de régimen,
and to seek a regime change,
desestabilizar a Venezuela,
to destabilize
partirla en
Venezuela,
pedazos como hicieron
to
con
tear it
Libia
apart
y
as they
con
did with
Siria,
Libya
y
and
apoderarse
Syria,
y robarnos el
and to
petróleo,
seize and
el gas,
steal our
el
oil,
hierro y el
gas,
oro.
iron, and
Y eso
gold.
no ha
And
ocurrido,
that has not happened,
ni
nor
va
will it
a
happen.
ocurrir.